Hello and welcome to the Musicals with Cheese podcast. Today I've got a very special guest, known as a composer, actress, performer, and everything under the sun, Lulu Fall.
Hello! I'm so excited. It's my first podcast. Ooh.
Really? Wow. That's actually surprising because you've got a laundry list of like things you were involved in, from like Hadestown, Natasha Pierre, the Great Comet of 1812, and a bunch of other like your own compositions too.
Yeah, I do. It's exciting. Very, very exciting stuff.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationship to musical theater and how, because you even admitted that you like what you like, you're not like deep into it. So I'm very interested in how you got involved in it.
Yeah, it's like, I know a lot of people who are like, you know, not even just musical theater heads, but like true theater nerds and know every single show from like, you know, classic to non-classic, traditional to not. And I just kind of slipped in the cracks. There are like many shows that I love, but they're very niche, they're very contemporary, they're very off the beaten path. And there are lots of other shows that I'm just like, well, I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it. So anyway, brief introduction. I have always been interested in singing, dancing, acting, creating, period. And I started dancing as a kid. My parents enrolled me in dance classes. I, dabbled in theater a lot. I also knew that I could sing, but I had stage fright actually until college. So that's kind of crazy, right? So I somehow did my best to evade singing solo up until like high school, when I went to an arts high school and I had to, so because I already had this love for singing, dancing, and acting, I naturally wanted to merge all three and just get more comfortable with being on stage and, just expressing myself through, these different mediums. And so by the time I got to high school, I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts in D.C., where I'm from. And I originally was accepted into the vocal program, but then as soon as I think it was the first day of school or something, they gathered a few of us who were contenders for becoming basically the guinea pigs of this new division within the theater department that was called musical theater. And of course, the year that I got there was the year that they started the program. The year after I graduated is the year that they ended the program. So it was a very, very short-lived program, and I learned a lot. Now, with that said, after high school, I decided to just focus on music in college and just go back to the very thing that I really love, but that I'm terrified of, or I was terrified of. And I studied jazz in college, and that's how I just, learned to play a little bit of piano and learned about theory and composition, and just that's when I started to understand myself vocally a bit more. But then after college, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a jazz singer. And then boom, I ended up auditioning for this show called Crowns in D.C. It was a rendition of Crowns in Washington, D.C., and I ended up getting the understudy part. And this is 2009, so mind you, I have only been in this business professionally for 10 years, in the musical theater business, which is kind of nuts because I have done a lot, and I'm very, very thankful. But I'm telling you, I busted my behind, just going from studying musical theater in high school, where, sure, I learned a lot, but since we were guinea pigs of that program, a lot of it was, us just kind of being shoved into a class, and curriculum had already started, so I didn't quite know a lot about a lot. I just know a little bit about a little bit. So I just ended up learning a lot on the job, starting with Crowns. I wasn't an understudy, I was a swing. That was my first job in 2009. So I hit the ground running. I know what I love, and I work really, really, really hard to cultivate what I love and develop what I love. And since then, I've been hustling like crazy, taking classes, obviously, booking all the shows that I've done thus far. And yeah, here we are today. So it's been a crazy journey.
That's an incredible journey. Like,
Yeah.
really, you're so young and yet you've done so much. That is remarkable. Congratulations to you,
thank
and for
you.
all of your success up to this point, and the success I know is coming ahead, like even further than either of
Oh,
us
yeah.
could probably imagine.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine it. I feel it though, you know. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
some big stuff are coming, so I'm happy about that.
So how did you get over that initial stage fright that you had? Like, was there a moment where it's like, okay, that's gone, or is it still somewhat there?
It's definitely gone. I mean, sure, I get a little nervous naturally, but I know how to channel that nervousness into energy and focus, you know, as opposed to, you know, wanting to just flee. But to be honest, I would say between me and you, but everyone's listening. Between me and you and everyone, I almost flunked out of college my freshman year because I had juries and I did poorly in it because I was like scared to sing. I was like, oh my God, Lulu. And I passed like by the skin of my teeth. And I remember my vocal teacher pulling me aside and saying, you need to get it together. I don't understand why you have stage fright and why you're letting that, you know, hinder you from your budding career, because you have something, but you got to let all that stuff go or you will not be enrolled at Michigan State. And I was like, oh, okay. So that literally snapped me into place. I remember calling my mom and she was like, I love you. I'm not going to tell your dad. Get it together. And she just hung up on me. And she never hangs up on me.
Damn.
So after that, I was like, all right, Lulu, it's time to get over this shit. Mark, sorry, I just cursed.
No, you're allowed
Yeah.
to curse. Swear as much as you want. You're good.
Oh, thank you.
Feel free.
All right. Yeah, so I think that was the thing. I sadly had to get to that, but it was so bad. It was pretty crippling, you know?
So
And,
you, you were born and raised in D.C., but you went to Michigan State?
That is correct.
my
Random,
gosh.
but I was really, really cool with my high school guidance counselor. I know that sounds nerdy, but she was amazing. And she was like in her early 20s, so I just felt like I could relate to her on very, very deep levels. And one time that I was in there, the admissions, what was he, like a recruiting officer for Michigan State just happened to be in her office. And, you know, he talked a big game. On top of that, my good friend Ben Williams, who is an excellent bassist and composer, he was already at his first year at Michigan State while I was wrapping up my senior year at Duke Ellington in D.C. And so I already had a contact to, you know, call and just kind of ask questions about the school to. And he loved it. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to go study jazz. And between me and you and everyone, that was the only school I applied to.
That is incredible. Only because
so crazy.
I live in Michigan, and I'm like, wow. I'm always amazed at the people that come to Michigan from other places and how they interpret this state and like the education they get there. It's just very interesting to me, and it's very common in musical theater.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and everyone always thought, oh yeah, you went to U of M, and I'm like, no, I went to Michigan State.
You went to Lansing, like
Yep.
you were.
Yeah,
Very
and I mean,
specific differences.
very, very specific differences. They have a great jazz program. They're not necessarily known for their theater program, even though they have one. But U of M is known, obviously, among other things, for their excellent musical theater program. So, yeah, that's the biggest difference.
Now, you were always a performer. When did you start composing?
Well, I started composing, of course, you know, having studied just music in college, you had to write your own composition sometimes, but most of the time you had to learn how to dissect music and arrange music. And I'm not a very good arranger, nor do I need that skill necessarily, but I do understand a lot about it. And so had I not gone to Michigan State to study music, I probably wouldn't be a composer. I wouldn't be a songwriter, you know? So, yeah, Michigan State helped shape me for that. But after graduating, you know, I've always had little ditties that I would write from time to time, and I used to write poetry a lot, and a lot of the words from those poems ended up becoming lyrics and to, you know, songs from the present day that I have. And yeah, I just had a keyboard. I knew a little bit, so I just kind of started using like my theory and composition knowledge and applied that to writing my own stuff. And then, fast forward to collaborating with Chris Johnson, who's not only my writing partner, but he's also my boyfriend. And we too went to Michigan State together. And about 7 years ago, we rekindled our friendship, and 5 years ago, we ended up in a relationship. And so he is a mastermind genius when it comes to composing and arranging. And so him and I get together a lot, and he just shows me a lot more. And that just helps just reinforce the things that I learned way back when, and just kind of helps fuel me to continue to write, in the future.
I wish you could see the smile on my face when I heard that you're both a collaborator and like a lover with someone. That's so rare, and I find it like just so emotionally rewarding to see it exist.
Oh man, it does exist. It does exist. It's not, it's not easy, but what is? And all the great things in life are the things that you have to work at the hardest. But that doesn't mean that it has to be extremely difficult, and that doesn't mean that there has to be all this pushback. That just means you got to work a little harder, and he's damn worth it. So
that's fantastic. And I just want to say your songs are incredible. Like I actually listen and enjoy them. Like Fight No Better, Pretty for a Dark Girl.
Yeah.
They are incredible pieces, and you are fabulous.
Oh, Jesse,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. It means so much to me. It's like these songs come from my soul, like they come from me. Every single song that you've heard that belongs to me, it comes from me, and it comes from some type of experience, So it just means a lot that you like it and that you're touched by it.
Now let's talk about how you eventually got to Broadway from after graduation.
Right. So, graduated, I was, doing like some little odd jobs in DC, but mostly I was just focusing on performing. I did like some Smithsonian live exhibit gigs, which were really, really fun. And then I was actually working in the customer service department at Arena Stage, one of the top prestigious theaters in DC. And I heard that they were doing like a nationwide search for one of the characters in Crowns. And so my coworkers, knowing and understanding that I do perform and that I do have a background in musical theater, although at that time it wasn't extensive since it was just high school, they said, Lulu, oh my God, you should audition. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't act anymore. And they were like, what? Just try it. What do you have to lose? You don't get it? You don't get it. You come back here and you do your work. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And there were like over 300 people, I'm telling you, over 300 women. Narrowed it all the way down to 5 people, including me. And the whole time I was just like, oh my God, I have missed this so much. I missed it so much. It just felt so amazing and visceral to just like recite these monologues. It was amazing to like learn choreography on the spot. And back then I was a little more flexible. So, it just came that much more easy for me. And then I get a phone call, and I didn't have an agent at the time. You have to understand that. So I get a phone call from the casting director, and he says, Lulu, we really, really want you. It's between you and someone else. And that someone else is Zurin Villanueva. And she is, what is she in right now? She's all over the place. I think she's in Lion King or something. But, yeah. I love that woman. She's so sweet. But yeah, that was my first time meeting her. And he was like, so we want to hire her. We didn't have a budget to have a swing, but we really, really want you. And I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. So then, that was the beginning of my career. And then that was over. And, I continued to just, I had enough gusto to audition for more things. I was like, well, I opened this damn door already, so it's time to just keep going, right? And so again, I was just like learning on the job, and auditioning is a job. So auditioning, I'm like keeping my ears and eyes wide open. And then I had a friend of mine, Eric Williams, who's another fantastic actor and singer residing in New York. He was like, hey, Lulu, Hair's auditioning. And I was like, hair, the tribal love rock musical hair? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you should go to New York and audition. There's a group of us that's going. And I was like, all right, fine. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? And at the time, I believe I was a substitute arts teacher. I just kind of dabbled in teaching music and theater and dance to like little terrible 4-year-olds. And so it was totally fine for me to be like, cough, cough, I'm a little sick. So I took like a few days off. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go to New York. So I get there. This is like the best story ever. I get there. Mind you, I know that people see me as the woman with the short red hair, but for 11 years I had long red dreadlocks. So at the time I still had long red dreads. And so, I get there. I was like, I know a lot about hair. I did the musical in high school, so I know everything about it. That's what I thought at the time. And so I get to this open call because I wasn't union yet, So I wasn't union yet. I also wasn't represented by an agent. So I get there, like 7:30 a.m. and people are singing, people are putting on makeup, and I'm just sitting there, people are stretching, their legs are like way over their heads, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I just get in the corner and I'm just like staring at people, and I see Eric and, the other friends that he brought up, and he was like, all right, good luck, this is it. I said, oh, okay. So the monitor comes in the room, and of course, because there's like 10,000 of us, says, hey, if you are non-equity, we can't see you at this time. Drop your headshot and resume, and, good luck. By the time I get to the monitor table, dude, like, the pile of headshots and resumes was so freaking high. I almost didn't drop my headshot and resume because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this cost me money. I'm not about to just drop this in this gigantic pile. But you know what? I was like, I came all the way up here to New York, so I dropped it. I kid you not. 2 days later, I'm like in DC teaching or something. I get a phone call from casting, and they want to see me. And I was like, me? So back and forth for about 2 weeks. I went from DC to New York auditioning, getting called back every time. I literally would get on the bus to go home. Before I even step off the bus to to welcome myself to DC, there's already a phone call or a voicemail on my phone saying, hey, can you come back on such and such day? So I literally kept having to turn back around every few days. And thankfully, I was living at home with my parents. They were like, Lulu, do your thing. This is what you want to do. You're challenging yourself. Go ahead. See how far you can go. I said, okay. So I finally made it all the way to final callbacks. It was really fun. And then I didn't hear anything for like a week. And I was like, man, I really thought that I was going to get this because it felt really good in my bones, And then out of nowhere, I got this phone call, and I booked a freaking first national tour. And I was like, get out of here. Oh, get out of here. And so, that was the beginning of my journey to New York. I've always wanted to live here, just much like everyone. You're like, oh, I don't have money to live here, you know what I mean? And I'm not just gonna uproot myself here and not have money and not have anything secure, because this place it'll eat you alive, it's just so expensive. So that was the foot in the door that I needed to come to New York, but it also ignited something in me, it just reminded me that, Lulu, you are meant to not only be a singer and songwriter, but you are meant to be an actor. You are meant to dance. You are meant to do these things. You have this, And every now and again, when I get overwhelmed or when I get really, really nervous about an audition, I just think about how carefree I was when I was auditioning for hair. There was a certain level of ignorance there too, just because I didn't know what it was like to audition. Not much, since it was still 2009 when I booked that show. Or maybe early 2010, maybe a year had elapsed. But, I was still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and super-duper excited and just throwing myself into the material. And so anytime I get nervous, before, auditioning for something, especially if it's Broadway or something big, I just yank myself back to how I felt, 9 years ago. Alive. I felt free. I felt like I could do this. And if I can't, I'm going to damn learn. And that's the beginning of my journey into professional theater, and more specifically Broadway, because that was my first Broadway show.
That is a really inspiring story. That's literally started from the bottom. Now you're here in a way. Like.
Yes, it started from the bottom to the left somewhere. Just like
now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm just excited.
I wanted to talk. There was something you really wanted to talk about, and I really want to hear your opinion on, because as a cis white male, I wish I had more ability to understand it and be more aware of it, and I want to learn more about it. So you wanted to talk about typecasting.
Yeah.
And diversity on the stage, which is both two things that I really want to learn about, especially from the point of view of someone who's done it.
Yes, for sure. I will say, I think, especially since I've just had like such an unconventional relationship to theater, that, and obviously, just the way that my voice type is the way that I sing, I don't have a traditional sound, and it's totally fine. I have always been interested in the quirky shows, the non-traditional stuff, the very nuanced, cool stuff. And I'm very, very lucky to have done just about every single show that I've done. It's been very diverse, So again, my experience has been completely different. However, that doesn't mean that I don't see that things are just so homogenous, and it just makes me sad, because we live in New York City, where in one city block you will see like a myriad of colors and creeds and races. Why can't that be represented on stage? And it just really, really irks me, because there are I don't know. Well, I'm not even going to begin to guess, but there are so many Broadway shows in one season. Why is it that 2, possibly 3 tops, and that's even probably pushing it, why is it that there are probably 2 to 3 shows per season that are mostly black? And so you have, all of us black people just like, coming out of the woodwork clamoring to, get a job. Otherwise, we have to settle for possibly being some token in a show. Now, things are changing with the Hadestowns, with the Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, with Hamilton, you know what I mean? So many things are changing, and many other shows. I just can't think of any other shows at the top of my head. And I'm happy that, Great Comet was a redheaded stepchild, and we helped pave the way to have, these people who subscribe to see the shows, not even from subscribers to producers, to theater owners, to writers, we just kind of like began the conversation of challenging people's lens and making them open up just a little bit. Why can't a Russian countess be not only African American but dark skinned? She can. And I just love that. I love that so much. Now, as far as typecasting goes, because I am slim and because I am a dark-skinned woman and, curvy, slim, whatever, for some reason, I get typecast as a slut. And I don't know why. And it's so funny, because at first I was like, oh my God, that means they think that I'm pretty or that I have sex appeal. And then I was like, wait, Lulu. Sorry, it's getting a little loud here. But I was like, wait.
I know. It's obvious you're in New York.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm like, where is this coming from? It was so quiet. But yeah, and then it dawned on me that, oh no, this is beyond what I think about myself, and how this, I believe, compliments me. No, this is happening with many African American women. That's all. I can only speak for African American women. I can't speak for, other non-white women or even white women. I know that we all get typecast, especially as women. Why does the heavyset person have to be funny or unattractive? Why does the black woman have to be steeped in some type of stereotype? Why can't I just be the quirky chick next door? Because I am. I actually am. So, I just want... I
love that.
Yeah, I just want these writers and these directors, these creatives, these producers, and all of the above. I just want all these people to just challenge themselves just a little bit. And to be honest, I think that in addition to just removing all these stereotypes and just having more inclusion and diversity, with race, color, gender, and whatnot. I do think that creative teams also need to diversify, because if I'm going in to audition for something that talks about some type of African American experience, and then I go into the room and it's a table full of white people, there's a problem, because that's happened too many times, and then there's just so many things that get lost in translation, and so that's my rant. My rant's over.
Well, that's a great rant. And as a writer, have you ever thought about writing your own musical and like maybe producing it, or maybe I'm foreshadowing something?
No, I will say I don't even know how to begin to write a book. Now, if someone comes up to me and is like, I need help with music and lyrics, depending on the piece, absolutely, I can definitely flex that muscle. That hasn't happened yet, but yeah. Aside from that, I don't know that I can write my own musical. I don't think that I have that skill set.
Oh, well, that's a shame, because I think you would make a fabulous musical. Like, listening to your music, I'm like, there's a storyteller there.
Oh yeah, I definitely tell stories. And I love it. I love it so much. I'm good at telling stories in that way, which is why, yes, I would totally be fine being like on the music department team of creatives. I'd be way more comfortable in that realm for sure. Hopefully that'll happen soon. I would definitely challenge myself in that regard.
Well, I'd be the first to buy a ticket. So,
yes.
As we're getting to wrapping up, I do have a few final questions that I have.
Yes.
The first one is, what advice would you give to young women, men, or anyone out there that are interested in becoming where you are and being the next Lulu Fall? Specifically women and men of color, because they have a little bit of a different road to walk than me, cis white guy.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for acknowledging that. I would say find a mentor, first and foremost. Find a mentor, someone that you can confide in, someone that, can walk you through the ropes. I didn't quite have that until later, but having someone in your corner to just kind of help you out and just give you like a broad spectrum of what it is that you're specifically trying to get into, that will help so much. Also, just go for it. Fall down, make those mistakes, get up and be bold. Keep being bold, keep pushing, keep going. That's what got me here, is being bold. Sure, there's fear involved and uncertainty and all that stuff. It's okay, because we're human. But as long as you are putting one step in front of the other and being bold, and you are pushing yourself and staying true to yourself, but pushing yourself. Also, be a sponge. Soak it up and soak it in. All of the things that you like to, all of the things you want to be a part of, whether it's straight theater, straight plays, whether it's musical theater, whether it's music, whether it's dancing, or whatever art form, whatever medium. Do your research, go see plays, go see shows, go see these things that you really want to be a part of, and soak it up. I think that would be like those are like my most three concrete pieces of advice.
Okay. Well, that's great. Okay, one more thing before I let you leave and let you promote some of your stuff. What is next for Lulu Fall? What's coming next? Promote yourself. Let us know where the journey is headed.
Lulu Fall. Okay. As far as acting goes, still auditioning, still on the grind. I'm sure something will come up soon. As far as music goes, I do have a new album. It's my first solo album in 10 years. Man, 2009. Jeez. Everything happened in 2009, didn't it? Damn. I'm
Big year
literally
for you.
just like, yeah. So 10 years later, I'm releasing not only my first solo album in 10 years, but it's my first ever concept album. And it's called Between Two Worlds. That's going to be released later this year, excuse me, I believe in November. And as far as the concept goes, just to give you a brief overview, it's an album about extremes, personality extremes in content, and sonic extremes. And the basis of these extremes is me being first generation African American. And when I was younger, I didn't quite feel American enough for my American friends. At times, I didn't feel African enough for my African family. And my way of trying to cope with these quote unquote misgivings, my way of trying to appease the masses and to desperately fit in was to create extremes in various parts of my life, all subconsciously. And so this album is just kind of like a journey into not only the musical influences and the situations that I put myself in, but it gives you a journey into my brain and my way of thinking. And talk about storytelling, you know, this album is about letting your freak flag fly. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to be confused about it, and it's okay to create all these crazy extremes, but just know that you are this person for a reason, and it's pretty dope. And sorry, I just squealed. So Between Two Worlds is coming out later this year. I'm super duper excited. I also entered the Tiny Desk contest, and I got an email saying that tomorrow they will be announcing the winner. I hope it's me. If it's not, that's fine too. So keep your fingers crossed for that. I'm performing tonight. Have you ever heard of the So Far series? It's like this underground music concert series.
I've heard of it, but I don't quite know the specifics.
Oh, okay. Well, I am performing in that tonight. And where am I? I'm at 444 Park Avenue between like 31st and 32nd. East 31st and 32nd. I'm also going to be performing in Detroit in the next couple of months with my band, with Chris, my boyfriend, and our band. And I am slowly trying to put the beginnings of a tour together to promote this new album. So I'm pretty busy.
And also, when your album drops later this year, feel free, we will happily have you back on the show to talk about it, promote it as much as you want.
Oh my goodness, I would
have you
love
chat
that.
about it.
I would love that.
Well, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Thanks for listening, guys, and don't judge me too much. I know that my story is very, very, very unconventional, but, you know, that is absolutely who I am, and I'm sure that my story is going to affect someone else because, you know, everyone has these different ways of kind of getting thrown into this business, and this was my specific cookie cutter path into this business. So thanks for listening.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you for coming on. I can say personally, and I can only speak for myself, it touched me a lot. There was a lot of times where I just had this big derpy smile on my face the entire time. So I'm just very happy that you gave me your time, told me your story, and shared with me. It was really a wonderful experience, and I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, it is my absolute pleasure, and I would love to be back on your show anytime.
And I will take you up on that 100%. Well,
all right.
Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you, Lulu, for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.